With the release of Resident Evil 4, the remake on PSVR2, we are also talking about some insights in comparison to Resident Evil 4 OG. That's on the Quest 2 / Quest 3. Both are which exclusive in their own right, and both in which kind of have similarities, and then both in which have drastic differences, right? Which is the better option? Well, that's kind of more up to you in your sense. If you have a Quest, it is a great option because Quest version 1 Game of the Year. If you have a PSVR 2 right now, exclusivity is great too because Resident Evil Village won VR Game of the Year, and therefore the Resident Evil 4 remake is mind-blowing the way it is, in my opinion, better than Resident Evil Village. But again, people have had opinions in my comments too that said that they like Village better than Resident Evil 4 the remake as of right now in terms of virtual reality. We don't know any post type of updates either of these games will have. As of now, since Quest won, the Quest version 1 Game of the Year, there hasn't really been like any necessary updates or post-launch stuff other than Mercenaries. And so Resident Evil 4 the remake on PSVR 2, we'll see what they do post-launch, and hopefully it's going to be a lot of great things coming around. Now, just to really get all into it, of course, number one, the graphics. Of course, the PSVR 2 version is going to have way better graphics than the Quest, but that doesn't necessarily always mean better gameplay. There's games that have terrible graphics at times that have amazing gameplay, games like Gorilla Tag and all that. So, or Rec Room and stuff. So there is not, just because better graphics, better visuals does not always mean a better game. But in terms of graphics, PSVR 2 is way better. Again, not really in total comparison when it comes down to that, because it's blatantly obvious when you're connected to a next generation console or current generation console, whatever we're calling it these days. I thought PS5 is current gen, but they still refer to it as next gen console. So that is that, right? Better graphics, of course. Quest version is not great graphics. You can tell the models, they look so different. It has a way more of a darker approach to PSVR 2 than the Quest. Quest is a lot more daylight situations. Now, let's make this clear though. There's two scary ass scenes. Spoiler alert: when you're in those sewages and those disappearing freaking grasshopper looking things, I don't even know what they're called. If y'all can comment the exact name of them, I don't know. I think it's a Latin name. But the two, when you're in the sewer, both versions are very scary. That's just a spoiler alert, man, because the Quest version still holds down some ground on that, man. And I remember I was on the Quest 2 version for sure when I got up to that part again, and I was like, I didn't get that far on the Quest 3 version, which I recently just shot like 2 days ago. So make sure y'all check that out. Also, cheap plug. But the Quest 2 version, man, when I was up in those sewers, it's just scary. They disappear, they yell really loud, it's echo, it's real, like and the ambience is insane in there, and the graphics are wild, and it's dark, and trust me, the Quest version more than delivers. So Resident Evil 4 the remake over delivers on that scene. That is also great. Like what I said, the models, like the night aspects, of course, graphics overall, boom. Now, where do they kind of fall hand in hand, oddly the same? Well, oddly the same is it's technically the same story, except for remake has a lot more. But again, it understands itself as an extension of a PS5. So you're essentially paying a PS5. Now, reverting to that, you're playing a PS5. Therefore, they do have some things where I wouldn't say got a little lazy, but they did get kind of lazy. What they did is they just made a copy of the Quest version. It was kind of like, hey, let me like just look at your homework and let me just do a little better, since we have a little bit more options in terms of the capabilities to make this game better, at least visually. So when it comes to the cutscenes, both games take you out of immersion, which is not really fun. It kind of really knocks you off of that, and it's weird. It still really boggles me that the PSVR 2 version really decided to do that. It takes you out of a lot of the immersion, and it just reminds me too much of the Quest. This could just be like any type of like nitpicking though, especially for somebody like me who's literally played these games back to back. I played the Quest 3 version right before Resident Evil, right before the PSVR 2 version came out, which was yesterday, or depending on when you're watching this video. And so playing these games back to back, a few hours in between both, it still felt both of them really copied each other's homework on that. Well, PSVR 2 copies, I guess they kind of just noticed. I don't know if that was a lazy factor or they were just like, I felt Sony or just PlayStation in totality, whoever's in terms of this VR focus, could have done a lot better. I think they should have not done the scenes taking you out and going back to like a little cutscene that takes you out of this full immersion. I think that really knocks it off. I think only Quest should be able to be allowed to, I guess, quote unquote, just because they're standalone and there's just so much power they can do with all the immersion. But PSVR2 copies on them on that, or they're just the same. I wouldn't say copy, they're just the same. And then also kicking. So when you actually, depending on what your actionable button is, the kick, however you set your bindings, your controller settings, when you kick or you melee, it takes you back into that third person also, in which both versions do. Again, kind of a little nitpicking downfall in my opinion, just because anything like that really takes you out of virtual reality, it hurts the brand in totality. I think not the Sony brand, but just the brand of virtual reality, because we want to feel as immersive as we can get, and you pay a lot of money for a PSVR 2 and a Quest 3 these days. Both of them pay a lot of shit ton of money. Either way, they're going down that $1,000 route. And when you put the PS5 and PSVR 2 together, when you put the Quest 3 along with insurance, some additional accessories because their head strap is ass cheeks, and then you buy maybe an additional battery because Quest battery is like an hour and a half if you're playing an actual good game with like crazy graphics. So both really take you out of that immersion when it comes down to like hitting or opting in to hit the enemy. So that's one. I feel that PSVR 2, again, I don't think it was a lazy approach, but they probably just looked over at Quest like, man, y'all's game got game of the year. Okay, well, maybe we could try something like that, shake it up, spend more time on just actually getting the rendering right when it comes down to being an extension of the PS5. I don't know how that goes, but y'all can probably let me know what y'all feel about that. Next, also, is the interaction phase too. When you're interacting with certain things like doors and everything, either goes to a cutscene or it kind of just takes you out of that immersion once again, which also what Quest does. So both of these do have similarities in that, and it's kind of all in all the same, these two back to back, which is both a good and a bad thing, right? Like what I said, it could either be seen as like, oh, we're copying your homework, we know that y'all got game of the year, well, this is gonna be easy for us now. Or it's more of like a, maybe it was a lazy approach, or maybe just they just both thought the same thing. Like, we don't want to waste too much time on cutscenes. We'll take them right out and throw them right back into the game of immersion, first person. Whenever they're done with all that, the fluff of the video or the like the sequences or the movie scenes or whatever it is. And I don't know, man. Y'all really had to be letting me know in the comments below, like how y'all feel about that. It could be me just nitpicking at that part. Nothing's really in totality bad. Both of these games are incredible. So that's always the good thing. And the story, of course, the OG is going to be the OG story. And so therefore it stops at that landscape. Everything is exactly, like, literally from to the T, the exact same thing, in which can be known as what, a port maybe, but it's not a port. It's an exclusive Quest game. So, but it is the exact game from beginning to end, the way we remember it, hands down. Resident Evil 4 Remake has a lot of shockers, a lot of twists and turns. Everything that the remake has offered, if you haven't played the remake, well, you still remember the meaty process of the game, and then everything else becomes a little bit more, it's more of a shock factor and more surprising. So that's always cool too. So again, graphics better, visually stunning. They both kind of do the same thing, and it's just the option is to which one that you think is better. Obviously the so when you measure these together, obviously the PSVR 2 is going to be the better option, just because they hands down are the same story, well, extended more of the Resident Evil 4 remake, and then they both do the same things when it comes to cutscenes. The mechanics are both smooth in both games, like the looting, all that is very smooth, very fast, very optimized. It's just very VR friendly. All of these are check all the boxes, boom, 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 boom. So we're checking the boxes of graphics, is PSVR 2 wins that. Then you're looking at mechanics, they both check the boxes on that. They're both great. Story mode, both check the boxes on that. They're exactly the game what you've seen both on flat screen. The OG Resident Evil 4 and the remake Resident Evil 4. You check the boxes of all that. Then you check the boxes of the cutscenes part. So the only thing that can really be the difference is the cutscenes. Okay, well, cutscenes, they're both in, they take you out of immersion. So that's kind of the same thing. Then you look at interactions. Well, the interactions are far more in depth on the remake. So again, an extension of the PS5. Then you're looking at like just any other type of melee, or how he kicks them when you opt in to kick the enemy instead. And they both do the same thing. So again, at the end of the day, visually appealing and more of a creative outsource, and just uniquely the remake. Of course, it's a remake, so it has tons of it's a steroided version of the Quest, which is rightfully so. So when it comes down to comparison, it's not really a full comparison. The PSVR 2 beats it hands down. But what the Quest offers is exactly what you pay for. It's the OG. You know what you're signing for. It's the OG Resident Evil 4, and it's actually great, aside from those little nitpicks that take you out of the immersion. But the PSVR2 does the same thing. But again, you know exactly what you're signing up for because it's an extension of the PS5, and it's something that you would want to. It just gets you closer to immersion, but it doesn't have to be full immersion. While Quest is the actual main stage, so in my opinion, Quest should not be taking us out of immersion. It's a little bit more okay if a PSVR 2 takes us out of the immersion because, again, they're kind of just giving us an enhanced experience of what we already see on a PS5. While Quest, that's promoted as just an immersion experience. And so, therefore, graphics, everything, PSVR 2 is better. They're all in all the same. We know what we signed up for. They're both great in their own right. Quest is a VR game of the year, and I'm more than sure this PSVR 2 is going to get game of the year. Anyways, y'all let me know what's up, what y'all thought about these games. I appreciate y'all so much. It's a wild year, man. Resident Evil 4 gets both aspects, both exclusives, and they're just dominating right now, winning VR game of the year on the Quest, then Village winning VR game of the year, and then now potentially this one. Capcom knows what they're doing in VR. That's all I got to say. Peace.